here before we respond.
I was trying to, as I heard each of you speak, by the time all the presentations were over, I was trying to find a sort of a middle ground between all of your points of view, perspectives. And then it just got me thinking about popular mass media and culture and the way that kids these days are growing up and the role of multinational corporations and the kind of facelessness that is associated with the way they conduct their business. And, the problem to me, just from where I sit on the planet, is just nobody answers to anybody, not to themselves, and it's really about what can you take, what can you get away with, and the higher up you go, the less people you have to answer to. And I'm not really proposing an answer or anything. It just kind of got me thinking in that direction. And there's no one ill, there's no one cause, but you see it very, very prevalent in society increasingly. I mean, you don't have this kind of 50s world where kind of people had
insulation, I
yeah.
think.
Well, I was doing some research for another paper, and I'm trying to remember, in New York Times editorial, and I think it might have been David Brooks, I think was the one who was talking about the differences between now and at the end of World War II. Do you remember that article? And talking about how at the end of World War II, the guys who came home were so humble about their achievements. I mean, here they had, knocked out this horrible, this whole movement, this Nazi society, and they had won, and yet they were very humble in terms of the way they came back and reported it. And today, people are so full of themselves, and in contrast, they're just so, it's all about me, which I think you're attesting to. And again, the whole idea that the CEO or the governor, I mean, look at Spitzer, he could do no harm, right? I mean, no wrong, because he was in charge, and even Clinton. I mean, the whole idea that when you're at a certain level of power, you can do pretty much anything because you're in power and you don't have to toe to the same line that everybody else does. And I think, this absolute power corrupts absolutely kind of a mentality. But, you see it so much. I mean, I see ethics or civility. I don't know. My classes, we talk about the civility issue. We haven't talked so much about the ethics, but the civility of just being able to talk to each other and listen to what the other person is saying, without getting upset with the person. The idea that you're going to discuss the ideas and not the personalities involved. And, you look at the really bad role models that kids are getting, the Kanye West, I'm trying to think who's in the news now. Joe Wilson with you lie, that kind of, I mean, all of that, just bad behavior. I guess it's an ethical sort of a bent also, but it's just the models that our kids today are getting are not like what they were back in the 40s and 50s.
I just wonder why, as a society, we're so pacified by these examples, or we're so seduced by these things, and we just allow it to persist, and without question it. We just sit back and put the game on and go to sleep.
Well, we have to think about, I think, the variables also that we are not talking about. We're talking about the variable, we're talking about the things that are important to us, but, think about politics, and think about, things that drive these industries, and the reason that it perpetuates.
What sells.
What sells, and, and the other point is, look who's in this room. Are the administrators? Are we the ones in this room talking about this? Because it's important to us because we're in it. But, I don't know many administrators that are very, gung-ho about pushing this, into their school, or,
I suspect, though, that if a similar panel like this were to be held next year, I think there'd be more than 4 people showing up. I think that this is probably the first time that such a panel was part of this organization. I suspect, at least for quite a long time, a whole panel just on ethics and teaching ethics. I don't think the average person coming to this conference anticipated such a thing. I think they were here for very much, and if you look at the rest of the program, as an outsider as I did, I can see how this was kind of shoehorned in, and it did seem a little different from all the other panels. I mean, I think the
No,
four of you.
I'd like to think it, but, you talk about administration. I mean, a part of what I try to produce, and I guess everybody needs to take a certain responsibility to do what they can do. I do believe that there are administrators who are interested and would like to see better ethical behavior because they're busy putting out the fires and keeping on top of these staff who are being unethical. So it would almost make their job easier. And it's not something I think they don't want. It's just something that is in the whole realm of things doesn't seem so important to address. But that's my point. It shouldn't be a thing. It shouldn't be a topic. It shouldn't be a part of the behavior. It should be the thread of everything that we do every day, all the time.
It's just about 3, and I sense there are people outside who might be needing to get in here.
There's a lot of gentlemen that have
Yes,
to say a word,
so I would like to hear.
This whole panel just sparked so much. I mean, I work in a state where there's science standards, actually. There are 2 standards that talk about social impact. And you get the science teachers together talking about curriculum, about these, and they're the social studies standards. None of them want responsibility for trying to integrate that into curriculum or to try to, we've got scientific method over here. How do we teach scientific method and include this social studies piece? That's the social studies teachers. Well, you think about the turn of the last century, religion was taking this role.
Yes, exactly.
Science was the great fix-it-all. Now we've realized, maybe not. We're talking about science curriculum, and how can we start integrating ethics? And now all of a sudden we've got technology. And I don't think engineers or scientists or whoever develops something thinking, I'm going to create a problem.
No.
They're thinking in certain, be it through research or a planned goal, they're thinking they're doing good. Would Einstein have made EMC squared public if he'd known the final? Who knows? You think about, I like, the whole idea that ethics are different, and I'll be grossly simplistic. You think of socioeconomics, you think of upper class, middle class, and lower class, and our lower class and our upper classes, or I should say our upper class, where all the wealth is shrinking. We've got a lower class that's growing and a middle class that's sort of disappearing. All have, and again, I'll be very simplistic, kind of different values, different ideas of ethics. And Victoria, you touched on something on a comment. I was at, my wife works in the cable industry, and I was at a cable conference. And the discussant, his daughter had recently been stalked by Facebook, presented himself as someone he wasn't. Now, she had lied about her age, so there was, it worked both ways. But the bottom line is, police got involved, and so here's the cable industry talking about their new online products because they've got to get away from cable. And here's this discussant who's kind of pissed. And what I realized, those 4 people from 4 different cable companies, it's about making money. They don't care about the social impact. It's about continuing to generate products that people will buy. And you look at like the new, the iPad. Realistically, that does nothing.
Yep.
And yet that is the hottest product right now in the IT industry. They made it, people are buying it. No one's thinking about the outcome of this. I find it very interesting. And I think what the gentleman at the end talked about, this is a discussion. I don't think anybody's ready to act on this. But the discussion needs to open. That's why I saw ethics and we don't hear much about that in the education industry anymore. But I have a 10-year-old, and they have, the guidance counselor comes in and they talk about different, sensitivity training. Those 10-year-old boys hate that. Because as far as they're concerned, you treat people nice and they're going to treat you back nice.
Yep.
In terms of bullying,
they collectively take on the bullying. You know, cyberbullying, that's that whole thing. I don't know, when I was learning how to write letters, the nuns always said, read it again before you send it. Emails don't, but then you wrote it, you read it, you had to put it in an envelope, you had to put a stamp on it and walk to the mailbox. Email doesn't accommodate that.
And sometimes you tried to interrupt the mailman when he opened the mailbox because you changed your mind and you wanted the letter back before it got sent.
And then you had 10 seconds to undo your email.
But these tools that seem to make life easier have actually made it easier for us to be unethical. You know, would you say what you, in an email, what you would say face to face? Not always. You know.
But we're so connected now.
Oh, yeah.
So
Thank you so much.
You're all
Give ourselves an ear. Come on. Give ourselves an ear.
Taking it.
Find it.
Thank you for
To be
Thank you.
continued.